APEGA, it's Chef Joey here, and I'm doing one of my favorite dishes. I'm doing a French onion soup burger with some Cajun spicy potato wedges, oven roasted. The reason why I like these two is it's a twist on your usual hamburger and fries. Very delicious, very easy to make. If you are attending this conference and you're trying to advance your skills past boiling a pot of water or aspiring to be the next Gordon Ramsay, I am the chef for you. You see what I did there? Advancing, aspiring, you get it? I know you keeners will, so let's get started. The first thing I'd like you to do is turn on your oven to 450 degrees. The reason why we're putting the oven on now is we're gonna give the potatoes enough time to roast, right? We wanna get those in, then we can work on something else. Let's get started. What I've asked you guys to do is get 2 russet potatoes. Now this is a lot, right? For one person, you probably have 1/3 of a potato. I'm making a lot because I love this the next day with the dipping sauce. I've asked you guys to scrub them and wash them because we're cooking them or roasting them with the jackets on. We're gonna cut them into big wedges, and that could look any way you like. I'm cutting them in half first, and then in half again. So that's a big wedge. That's gonna take about 40 minutes in the oven. Or we could cut them in 3. And my partner, Patrina, likes them this way because they're just slightly soft on the inside, but still crunchy on the outside. And I'm gonna do one more. And I'm gonna cut this one into 4. Now, you might be saying, Chef Joey, why are you doing all these different cuts? Because whatever you prefer, a smaller, thinner potato, or a big, thicker wedge, or something where in the middle, you could have them all, but you gotta decide to do all your potatoes like that. I'm gonna put them in a large bowl, and I'm going to coat them with 1/4 cup of olive oil, canola oil, avocado oil, whatever you like, 1/4 cup. I'm just gonna pour that on my potatoes. And then I'm gonna use my seasoning mix. I asked you to make a seasoning mix. I gave you all the ingredients, the thyme, oregano. This is a Cajun seasoning profile. I labeled it potato spice, so you won't get confused because we have another seasoning profile with our hamburger. Here is very typical New Orleans seasonings. Cayenne, thyme, paprika, oregano, salt, white pepper, black pepper. And I'm gonna give that a stir. And it's on the spicy side, so on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe about a 7 for me. And I'm gonna season my potatoes and give that a good toss. So that's the oil, that's the taters. And I'm gonna make sure that the spice is coating evenly each one. So I'm gonna take my time here. And that's important, right? Emeril Lagasse, and I'll explain the story later. I asked him about what makes a good chef or what makes a good restaurant. He told me the knife and the fork, and I'll get to that at the end of this class. So this is one of those things about the knife and the fork. You make sure you take the time to coat the potatoes nicely. As you can see, my potatoes are red in color because of the paprika and the cayenne. Next, to save time, energy, and effort, we are going to line a sheet pan with aluminum foil. Makes cleanup a breeze. I'm going to spray it with Pam, even though I've oiled them. And I'm going to lay my potatoes down in a single layer, which means I'll have to get in there with my hands and manipulate my potatoes so that they are laying flat. Now, if you're doing skin side up or skin side down, don't really matter. The key is to lay them all flat. Make sure you have room for all your potatoes. We have our oven set to 450. I'm gonna take the excess spice and grease. We call that the Skrilla. We're gonna use all of it. All right. And there you are. And I'm gonna give them 20 minutes on my timer. But I know what you're thinking. Chef Joey, my oven is not at temperature yet, so I'm not ready. Neither am I. So we're going to wait till our oven get at temperature. Mine's at 300. We're going to give it another 6 minutes, and then we're going to put them in. While we're waiting, we're just going to put them on the side of our stove till our oven is at temp. Everybody's good with that? Any questions? Perfect. Let's move on. Okay, so we use the potato spice for the potatoes. Now we're going to season the meat, the ground meat. I chose ground chuck, 85% chuck, extra lean, 15% chuck, kind of lean. You want that fat in there. This is what they do in restaurants. Why the keg burgers taste so good? They season the meat before. Okay, so I have my 1 pound of meat. I have my spice pack here, and I've asked you guys to put that together. Once again, it's in the vein of the Cajun spice mix, very New Orleanian. And I'm going to add the spices, not everything. I'm going to take 1 teaspoon away. And here's your first kitchen hack. I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of spice away and put it on the side. Everything else is going in. Why did you do that? Well, when I grill these burgers, I'm going to season them once again on the top, let that brown, season them again on the bottom. Keep bringing the flavor back to the meat. All right, I'm going to use my hands to incorporate the spices. And I'm going to add 3 things that I really like in a burger. 1 is garlic. 2 is Dijon mustard. And 3 is an egg. And what the egg does is help bind the ground meat together so your burgers don't break. Okay, I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of garlic. And of course, I'm using the pureed garlic. There's no shame in my game. When I need to use fresh and chop it, I can. When I need to use puree, I can. It depends on how much time I have and what I'm making. And I'm going to use 1.5 of the Calgary product from Co-op mustard. 1.5, 1.5. That goes in. And 1 farm fresh egg I laid myself into the ground meat. And I'm going to get my hands dirty by getting that all in there and incorporating the egg, the mustard, and the ground meat. And I'm going to mix it until I can't see any more egg, mustard, or ground meat. And as this sits in the fridge for about 20 minutes and gets cold again, we'll shape them into patties. And that'll be my second hack when it comes to making a good burger. So this part, you have to get into the zen of it. My vegetarian brethren out there, you probably have a veggie patty, and you could just put it on the side, and you can look away. And the heat of our hands has activated the fat, right? So it's going to be kind of fatty and sticky. When we put it back in the fridge, the fat will get cold and solidify once again and hold the mustard, the egg, and the garlic together. So let's give this a cover with plastic. I'm a firm believer of washing my hands, and I'm a firm believer of covering with plastic. And the way I'm gonna cover with plastic is by putting the plastic directly on the ground meat and giving it a press so that the oxygen in the fridge doesn't turn the ground meat an uncomfortable grayish red. So my oven's at temp. I'm gonna put in my potatoes. So my potatoes are in at a 450-degree oven. And because we're making a French onion soup burger, we need the main ingredient, the star of the show in French onion soup, which is onions, caramelized onions, as a matter of fact. So let's do that. Let's grab the largest saute pan you have, and we're gonna put it on the stove over medium heat. I've also asked you guys to slice 2 large onions. I have my 2 large onions here. So I'm going to use a mixture of olive oil and butter. Olive oil because I love its heat flash point, and butter because I love the flavor. And in this recipe, I'm using 1.5 teaspoons of butter and 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil. I'm just going to put that in my saute pan. That's my 1.5 teaspoons of butter and my 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil. Now, we cook with our senses. I hear my butter starting to melt. My fire is nice. I'm gonna let my butter melt completely. And as my butter melts completely and my pan keeps getting hot, I'm gonna add my onions, but not all at once, a little bit at a time. I don't want the temperature of my pan to come down by dumping all these onions in. I'm gonna put a little bit at a time. Right, so this is probably 3/4 of one onion. And I'm gonna spread them out. And I have another second half of the onions right here that I'm gonna put on the side. So my onions are in and cooking. While they're cooking, I'm gonna explain to you what we're gonna do. We're gonna let them cook to their caramel. So grab yourself a heat-resistant spatula, a wooden spoon. I like them both. And I have a rule in my class, if it is 12 o'clock and you're watching this and you wanna grab a beer, I give you a high five. If I say chop, chopping, helicopter, chop, chop, chop suey, karate chop, you have to have a sip. As my mama would say, chase those onions around the pot, boy. So that's what I'm gonna do. Just chase them around the pot. They're gonna get brown a little bit. They're gonna make room for the other batch of the onion as they start to shrink and become softened and translucent, and then from there moving into caramel. As you can see, look how much space I have now. So I'm gonna move them to one side, and I'm gonna add half of this to my onions and take up that side. I'm gonna let that go and continue to cook. Onions are cooking, main component. Second component in this French onion soup burger is cheese. But the way we're gonna incorporate the cheese is not like we usually do for a burger. We're gonna make a bechamel sauce. And the bechamel sauce is a roux-based sauce made with chicken stock, cream, and milk. And then we're gonna add melted cheese to it. This is the ooey gooey goodness you get when people say, I love onion soup because it has an ooey gooey cheese topping. We're gonna take it a step further and make a ooey gooey bechamel sauce. Now I have more space. You see how I've created more space? So I'm gonna add my last batch of onions. And I'm gonna stir those in. Awesome. We still have the sizzle. We have some caramelization taking place. We are cooking. Turn my fire down to medium low. And we're gonna slowly caramelize these onions. But we're gonna keep stirring every once in a while. Everybody's with me? Cool. Let's talk about our bechamel sauce. What we need, and you guys are gonna grab this, is a graduated cylinder that you could put in a microwave, a glass container, a glass cup with numbers on it. We wanna get that first. And then in here, we're gonna grab half cup milk. What works with this is I could see where the half cup is. So I'm gonna pour half cup milk. We also need 1/4 cup heavy cream. That's 35% cream. If you don't have it, it's okay. You can use a 1/4 cup of milk. You could use a 1/4 cup of sour cream. I like the heavy cream because what happens when you use it, it helps the cheese not to split if you boil another hack. If you happen to heat this sauce too much, the heavy cream will keep the sauce together because of the fat content. And last but not least, a 1/4 cup of chicken stock. So I'm just using your Campbell's chicken stock, $1.99. 1/4 cup of that. And that goes in. All right, stir your onions, and you have to find the joy and the zen in stirring of the onions. They are giving way to become caramel. If you need more oil or butter, you can add it. Mine looks good. Okay, so my chicken stock, cream, and milk are gonna go into my microwave for about 45 seconds, just to take the chill off and get it warm. Next, we need a saucepan. This saucepan has a lid, and it's about 7 inches in diameter. I have my chicken stock, milk, cream mixture getting warm in my microwave at 45 seconds. And I'm going to put my saucepan on my stove, medium heat. While it's at medium heat, I need to gather 2.5 tablespoons of butter and 2.5 tablespoons of flour, all-purpose flour, not whole wheat flour. We are making a roux, boys and girls, a roux spelled R-O-U-X. From that roux, we're gonna make bechamel sauce. Do, 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 do. Oh, you're back, are you? Okay, right on. We got our butter and we got our flour. We got our pan on medium, and we're gonna grab another heat-resistant spatula and a whisk. A whisk. I'm gonna add my butter to my saucepan, and I'm gonna allow it to melt completely. You see it just sitting there by itself, all lonely. Lonely, it's Mr. Low. No, we gotta take that out of there. I thought it would be funny. Okay, so once it's melting, we're gonna add our flour, and we're gonna use our whisk to stir our flour around and create this roux. We want it to be a light golden color. I think I hear my milk. And here it is, warmed up. Someone could be asking, why do you warm it, Chef Joey? Because this helps the process move faster. Now turn around and stir your onions. Mine are becoming caramelized a bit. I could see that my oil and butter is starting to disappear and dissipate. Butter is melted, and in goes the flour, 2.5 tablespoons. And in goes the whisk, where I whisk this butter and flour together. I'm gonna get in my power position pose with my hand on my hip to balance myself off. And I'm just gonna cook this till the flour and butter smells a bit nutty. And then I'll add my warm liquid. Medium heat, using a whisk, flour and butter. Now, if you never made a roux before, what you're looking for in here? Some bubbles on the bottom. The flour doesn't have any place to go, neither does the butter. So it's gonna get hot really quickly. It's gonna bubble really quickly. So we wanna keep that whisk moving so that we don't scorch the flour and or burn it. Oh yeah, flour is cooking a bit. Another 15 seconds. It doesn't have to be perfect. We are executing a roux. We know what we're looking for. Lightly golden. And we have our warm chicken stock milk and heavy cream here, and we're gonna pour it in a little bit at a time. Just to dissolve the roux, a little bit more. And you could see the roux working with the milk and the heavy cream. And now I've added 1/4 cup of that mixture to my roux. And I'm gonna add another 1/4 cup as I continue to whisk and let that get absorbed into my roux. And I'm gonna add the rest of my milk and chicken stock mixture and give that a stir. We're still on medium-high heat. I'm gonna make sure I get all of that out of there. So while that's on, I have 2 things I need to grab, and I gotta be mindful of the stirring. Okay, so I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna turn my heat down to low. I'm gonna turn around and grab my bottle of wine because we need a quarter cup of wine. And we need to find my mother's or my girlfriend, Patrina's, mommy's fidget widget, which is this. When I hear her doing that, I know what's up. This is a fidget widget. This brings her to her happy place. She's a big bread and butter white wine drinker. Fidget widget. Remember those? You used to spin them to calm you down. She don't do that, y'all. She just do this. All right. And I'm gonna add a quarter cup of white wine to my quarter cup measure. I'm gonna put that on the side, and I'm gonna drink some of that later too. The sauce is starting to get thicker, a little bit on the cloudy side, right? That's my bechamel. We need to bring it to a boil. We have about 1 minute. Now I ask you guys to grate some Gruyere cheese and some Emmentaler. And you might be saying, my God, Chef Joey, that cheese is expensive. It's expensive because it's authentic. Emmentaler is a German cheese next to Switzerland that's better than the Swiss cheese we make. So that's why I got that. It's kind of sweet and tangy at the same time, almost like the buttermilk of cheese. And then the Gruyere is French, and it has this really robust flavor. So I have my, I think it's a quarter cup of each cheese right here, freshly grated. And if you want to cook different, you got to cook different. Go back to stirring your bechamel sauce. It's on low heat. We got to bring it to a boil. And while you're here, you could give your onions a stir. And as you could see, they're starting to caramelize. For pepper, I'm going to put in a quarter teaspoon. And I'm just going to go like that and guesstimate. That looks good to me. And I'm going to whisk that in. And there's our timer for our potatoes. Let's see what they're doing, shall we? So I'm going to put on my gloves. So my people at the APEGA conference, remember, no glove, no love. And we practice safety first here. So here they are. We're going to go into the oven. It's been 20 minutes, and my potatoes are looking nicely. Huh? They're probably 3/4 of the way there. We're going to flip them over to the other side after we're finished with our bechamel and give them another 15 minutes. So potatoes back in. The gloves are off. Huh? You got that when the gloves are off. So right now, guys, my onions are looking good. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit on my onions. And I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit on my bechamel. Okay, we're boiling, and we're going to add our quarter cup white wine and whisk that in and bring it back to a boil to cook out the alcohol of the wine, but retain the essence of the wine. I'm going to add a pinch of salt, 2 pinches of salt. This is our base for our sauce. We're going to let that cook for 1 minute. And you can taste it here. Should taste creamy and flavorful, but it won't pop until you put the cheese in it. In here, you should taste the cream, the flour, the white wine, right? Another 30 seconds. It's coating the back of a spoon. It's boiling. If you want to add more pepper, you can. I would hold off on the salt till after you put the cheese in. And this is half cup, quarter cup Emmentaler cheese and quarter cup Gruyere, and off it goes inside. I'm going to turn the fire off, and I'm going to stir in the cheese. Now you got something happening right here. Isn't that beautiful? Cheese is getting stirred in. And you could taste it now. And you could decide if you want to add more cheese or not. But once we put it on the side and let it sit, the flavors are going to mellow out. So I'm putting my lid on, and I'm going to put it over here off to the side. Now I'll taste it again when I'm ready to serve. Yay, you guys did great. Now, last but not least, the burger. Let's get our grill. If you're using a grill, I'm using a cast iron grill. We can get that bad boy on now over medium heat. Before we move on, let's check out our potatoes. Put your gloves back on. And we're going to put our potatoes out from the oven. And they're looking great. And we're gonna grab our spatula or a long handled tongue and give them a turn. They look beautiful, and we're gonna test them to see if they're ready. And if they are ready, we're gonna turn the oven down or turn the oven off. We wanna keep them warm, but we don't wanna dry them out. So here's how I'm gonna test them. I'm gonna grab a paring knife with a pointy tip, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of pressure. If the knife goes through all the way with no resistance, they are probably close to done. Some of them, the smaller ones, yep, all the way. I would say another 7 minutes, but they should look like that. Kind of Cajun-y, back in the oven. And we could turn our oven down to 325. I have the ground meat, and you ever wonder why in the restaurants the burgers are perfect? Because they use a blank. And I bought one today, and it's just a small circle, right, like this, with a blank in it. I like to use plastic. So what I do is I put a piece of plastic in the blank. Oopsie. You have to cut that out. You take a piece of plastic, you put it inside this blank, and you put the ground meat inside a plastic lined blank, and you press it into shape. And you can make it as fat as you want. But what this does is you don't have to work the ground meat hand to hand. You could just shape it and mash it with this blank. I have a top to it. You could press it down. And once it's pressed in the size and thickness you like, you're just going to unmold it on a plastic lined plate. Let's do that again. And there's our burgers all ready to go. Let's check our onions. They're starting to caramelize nicely, but they need a bit more time. And I'm going to add a bit more oil. Probably another 5 minutes here, another 5 minutes on the potatoes. And I'm getting my grill stone hot. Any questions? Oh, I got one, Chef Joey. What about that spice you asked us to put on the side? Great question. I have it right here. And what I'm going to do is sprinkle it on this burger on the outside, all three actually. And then I'm going to flip them over and do the same thing on the opposite side. Now I still have spice left over. Once we grill them on both sides, you could add a little bit more as you serve, or you can leave it the way it is. My grill is getting hot. I have it on high. I'm going to grab some Pam, and I'm going to give my grill a spray. And as you can see, whether you're using the pan or whether you're using a cast iron skillet or a grill, when the smoke comes up like that, you're about ready. I'm going to spray my burgers, stop them from sticking on both sides. Now our burgers are going to take about 15 minutes, if that, and I'm going to tell you how to know when they're ready. So we're going to take our burger, flatten it down a bit to get it to the size of the bun that you're serving it on. And I have a brioche bun, a Kaiser bun, and a homemade burger bun. And then another spray. And on the grill they go. Now, what we want is engagement. We want the burger to be ignited and sizzling and hot. We want to hear it. If it's tepid and not sizzling, your pan's not hot enough. Okay? Okie dokie. So we're going to let that burger go. And here's the trick, a hack. the lines on my grill are going from left to right, right? When I'm ready, I'm gonna lift my burger up and turn it 90 degrees. So now that the lines are going left to right, but in a different direction from the first line, it's gonna look like it's going up and down, which give us those beautiful X-like grill marks, which makes it very appealing to look at. So we have our heat on medium high, and when we're ready to turn, I'm gonna let you know, and we're just gonna turn it 90 degrees to get those nice grill marks. My onions are starting to caramelize. And if you could see from here, look how lovely that is. My cheese is ready back here. That's gorgeous. Bechamel sauce. But I'm gonna grab some brandy. Now brandy is my favorite. And if you're cooking, you should be drinking and cooking. So Patrina got me a little, I like these little corny shot glasses from Mexico. I like gadgetry stuff. So I'm gonna have a little sip. Delicious. You are allowed to have a little sip, white wine or brandy when you're cooking. Our burgers are on. Last but not least, I have provolone cheese that I'm gonna melt on my burger when it's ready, and or more Gruyere or Emmentaler to make it even more cheesy. And I'm gonna show you how to put it together. So as we wait, let's take out our last element for a good burger, and that's a good bun. Okay, I have my oven down at 325 because I want to toast my buns low. I have a Kaiser bun, and I'm gonna butter it. I'm gonna take the time to butter it nicely. I have a brioche bun, and I'm gonna do the same thing here. And that just gives it a little more extra flavor. And I have a sesame seed, black sesame seed, white sesame seed bun. And I'm gonna butter that. And lastly, I got an English muffin that won't be able to hold that burger, but if you ever had an English muffin burger, it's delicious. They're only gonna need about 7 minutes in the oven to toast. So I'm gonna put them right here till we're ready. And I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about when it comes to grill marks. Here's my burger. I'm just flipping it over now to show you the grill marks. So since my grill marks are going this way, I'm going to turn my burger the opposite way. So we have nice little X's. All my X's live in Texas. So here's the next one. Here's the grill marks right to left. I want them to go up and down. And then I'm gonna flip this one. They're going this way. I want them to crisscross because crisscross will make you jump, jump. I'm gonna give our burger a spray down. And I'm going to, when I flip them again, re-season the other side. So I'm gonna put my seasoning right there. I'm gonna add my chicken stock, which is a 1/4 cup. And I'm just gonna get that flavor in there and let that chicken stock cook till it's completely evaporated. That's gonna soften my onions and give my onions some flavor and pull all that caramelized sugar from the bottom of the pan into my onions. So 5 minutes there. Next, I'm gonna add my brandy, but not yet. I want 2 tablespoons of brandy to go in when all the liquid of the chicken stock has been absorbed or burnt off. Potatoes are ready. I'm gonna grab them. I'm gonna find a container to put them in. I'm gonna use a tongue and just place them in that container. Now they're hot. Our oven is at 325 degrees. Our potatoes are spicy and crispy. Our burgers are going to be flipped in about a minute. And they're right now medium rare or rare. Okay, I'm going to put that on the side. I'm going to add my brandy to my onions, and I'm going to cook that out. Now, the caramelization of the onions with the white wine, with the chicken stock, and with the brandy is going to make it taste like a French onion soup. That's hot. So we're going to leave that over medium heat. Allow all the brandy to cook out. And we'll flip our burgers now to the other side. Right. My spice mix, I'm going to add on the top, and that'll be the last time. And I'm going to do the same thing I did to one side to the opposite side. And hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be cooked medium, maybe slight pink in the middle. If you need them to be cooked more, leave them on a bit longer. So I just turned my burgers over, and I'm just going to give them a flip to get the grill marks happening. I'm going to turn the heat down to medium low, and I'm going to add 1 slice each of provolone cheese on the top. And I'm going to allow that to melt. Whether you're doing it on a grill or in a pan, once the cheese is melted, we're going to turn off the heat. I'm going to turn off my onions and leave them there so the residual heat stays there. And I'm going to put my burger buns in the oven at 325 for 4 minutes. I think we're ready to plate. I'm going to take 3 of my potato wedges and put them on this beautiful square plate. I'm going to grab a bun from the oven. And I'm partial to the brioche bun. It's nice and warm. You could see the butter just starting to melt. I'm going to grab a burger off the grill. Next, we're going to add our caramelized onions. And I'm just going to put those on top of the burger, as much as you like. This is what makes it a French onion burger. And remember that bechamel sauce? 2 tablespoons on top of my burger. See how ooey gooey cheesy it is? And there you have it. The French onion soup burger with the Gruyere, Emmentaler cheese, bechamel sauce on top of caramelized brandied onions, burger made from scratch, Cajun wedges, Cajun dipping sauce. Looks great. I think I'm going to put the brioche top on, and I'm going to get a knife and give it a cut. So, want to say thank you very much for inviting us to do a cooking demonstration, a virtual cooking class for you guys. If there's anyone out there that wants to do a virtual cooking team building event with us, please check out our website, ChefJoey.ca, and you can give us a call there, and we'll be more than happy to make your culinary dreams come true. Chef Joey out.